Hello everyone. Once again, a warm welcome to all the attendees of this Zoho Creator Tech Connect webinar. So let's get started with the webinar that we have planned for the month of May. So Zoho Creator Tech Connect webinar is a month-on-month free webinar that we handle on a monthly basis, right? So this will happen on every second Thursday of the month. So in this webinar, we will be selecting few technical topics within the Zoho Creator platform. We will be discussing about them with live demonstration and real-time use cases. So for the month of May, that is for this month, the technical topic that we have taken in hand is building data relationship using Lookup. So in this topic, we will be understanding about what is data relationship in Zoho Creator, what are the different types of data relationship that you can bring in within your application, how Lookup field is going to help you with the same. So we will be covering all these topics with live demonstration. So if you have any questions, you can always post them in the question tab. This is me, Dorothy R, and I'll be the trainer for this specific webinar. Before we get started, there are a few housekeeping rules that I would like to highlight. So all the attendees who have joined this webinar will be kept on mute throughout the session. If you have any questions or queries, kindly post them in the question tab and my co-trainers will be answering all your questions simultaneously. So regarding the recording of the session, so once the webinar recording is processed from our end, we will be sharing the recording to all the attendees of the session. So you need not worry about the recording. In between the session or at the end of the session, if there are any polls or surveys initiated from our end, we kindly request the participants to actively participate in all of them, right? So with this housekeeping rule in mind, let's move on to the agenda for this webinar. So moving on to the agenda for this particular webinar, we will be starting off with an introduction to what is data relationship and different types of data relationship that you can create. Followed by which we'll delve deep into how one of the field among the advanced field category, which is your lookup field, is going to help you to bring in data relationship within your application. Post which we'll learn about how you can use the Deluge scripting language in order to bring in automation inside your application based on the relationship that you have built within your application. So for all these topics, we will be giving you a live demonstration based on real-time use cases. Also, we will be learning about a developer tool called Schema Builder, which is going to help you to view the data relationship that you have built within your application, right? And then we'll wind up this webinar with a summary of this session. So let's move on to the introduction to data relationship. So what is data relationship? So this is a concept of connecting two or more data and referencing the data in a single space, right? So to understand this better, let's consider you have a table where you have book ID and title, right? So here's the title for the book and the relevant book ID is available. Let's consider you have another table which consists of the award ID and the respective award names, right? So if you'd like to collate these two data together in a single table, you will be fetching the book ID from table 1 and the award ID will be fetched from table 2, right? And also you have the year in which the award was presented to a particular book, right? So here the book ID and award ID is repeated data that is stored in multiple tables. So instead of manually entering these data in multiple tables, you can simply use the concept of data relationship, create a data relationship between these three tables so that whenever a book ID is required, you can simply fetch the data from table 1 and display it over here. Whenever an award ID is required, you can simply fetch the data from the source table and display it in the target table, right? So this can be achieved only when there is a data relationship between these tables. In Zoho Creator, using the Zoho Creator platform, you will be building applications which will consist of multiple forms, right? So between these forms, so let's consider you have two different forms, which is form A and form B. So between these forms, you can bring in data relationship using a field called lookup field. So let's consider you have these two forms, right? And if you would like to view a data stored in form B from form A, then initially you need to create a connection between these forms, right? So this connection is otherwise called as data relationship between forms in Zoho Creator. So using this relationship, you can structure and organize your data and also reduce repeated data entry in multiple forms. So once the data is stored in form B or form A, you can simply fetch the data and display it in any other forms based on your requirement, right? So this reduces data redundancy within your application. So this is one major benefit of bringing in the concept of data relationship within your Creator application, right? So to understand this furthermore, we have taken up a use case to showcase to you. So here, if you have a credit card with you and if you are making purchases on the same, on a monthly basis, you will be receiving your credit card statement, right? So this statement will comprise of the card number, the monthly purchase, the order details, the total amount that needs to be paid or repaid to the organization. So all these details will be listed in the credit card statement, right? So where these details are originally stored, the organization will have its own database or its own form. So the customer details module will contain the customer's name, phone number, address, the card number, etc. Right? And the customer purchase order module will contain the monthly purchase the customer has done, what is the total value or amount that needs to be repaid. All these details will be available over here. So in order to create or generate a credit card statement, the organization should have created a data relationship between the customer details module, customer purchase orders module and the credit card statement module, right? So only when there is a relationship built, you can simply pull the card number from the customer details and you can simply fetch the other details from the customer purchase orders, right? So this concept of fetching can be achieved only when there is a relationship between your modules, right? Also, for better understanding, we have another use case to showcase. First, let's consider you have within your Creator application, you have a student form, right? Where you have the name of the student, the grade he or she belongs to, and the contact detail of the student, right? Let's also consider you have another form called classes form, where you have the subjects that you're handling within your school, college, or university, the teachers or professors working within your university, followed by the schedule of the subject or the course, right? So for a student to enroll into a subject or a course, you require an enrollment form within your application. So using this form, the student will enter their name, the subject that they want to register for, followed by the schedule that they are opting for, right? So if you just notice, all these details are originally stored in other forms. The student name is available over here. The subject and schedule is available over here, right? So instead of requesting the student to enter his name once again, enter the subject schedule manually, you can simply fetch the student name from the student form. And also the subject and schedule details can be fetched from the classes form, right? So this can be fetched or this automation can be done only when there is a relationship between these three forms within your Creator application, right? So how these relationship can be brought in, which is by using a field called Lookup field. So we'll be learning about them in detail, right? So I hope with this use case you understood what does data relationship mean by. Let's understand the benefits of bringing in these relationship within your application. So one major benefit would be you can quickly access all the related data in a single form without the need to toggle or refer multiple forms for a single piece of information, right? Also, this bringing in of data relationship helps you to keep your data organized and structured. You can also create reports based on the same, based on your requirement. Also, you can avoid repeatedly saving a single data in multiple forms. So by bringing in data relationship, you can simply avoid data redundancy within your application. So as I mentioned earlier, you can also create combined reports by gathering all the information which has a relationship between them together in a single place based on your requirement, right? Also, using the Deluge scripting language, you can bring in automation based on the relationship that you have built within your application, right? So these are the major benefits involved in bringing in data relationship within your Creator applications, right? So now that we know what is data relationship and what are the different benefits of bringing in data relationship, let's understand what are the different types of data relationship that we have. So majorly we have three different types. First we have the one-to-one relationship, followed by the one-to-many relationship, and then we have the many-to-many relationship. So we'll understand what these three different relationships are with relevant use cases, and then we'll move on to learning about lookup field in Zoho Creator. So first we have the one-to-one relationship. As the name suggests, one record in form A can be associated with only one single record in form B, right? So this is the meaning of a one-to-one relationship. So to understand this with a use case, let's consider you have list of students who has enrolled into your university, right? So these students will be provided with an ID card of their own. So one single student can be associated with only one single ID card. That is, one single record in form A can be associated with only one single record in form B. You cannot assign multiple ID cards to one single student, or you cannot assign one single ID card to multiple students as well, right? So this is a classic example of a one-to-one relationship. Next we have one-to-many relationship, where one record in form A can be associated with multiple records in form B. This will create a one-to-many relationship. So as an example, let's consider you have a list of students who has enrolled into your university, right? Also, you will be having staffs or professors who will be handling a course or a subject for a student, right? One single staff, that is, one single record can be associated with multiple students or multiple records in form B. So one single staff will be able to handle multiple students for a single course, right? So this creates a one-to-many relationship within your Creator platform, right? Next we have many-to-many relationship, where multiple records in form A can be associated with multiple records in form B. For instance, one single student can register for multiple courses. So it is not mandatory that they have to register for only one single course. One single student can register for multiple courses based on their requirement, right? Also, if you just look at course D, for example, course D has two students registered in it, right? So many students can register for many courses. Similarly, one single course can also have multiple students registered in it, right? So this will be an example of many-to-many relationship, where multiple records in form A can be associated with multiple records in form B, right? So these are the three different types of relationship that we have within the Creator platform. In order to bring in these relationship into your application, we will be using a field called Lookup. So let's move on to an understanding of how data relationship can be brought in within your Creator application. So if you have an application in your Creator account, and if you'd like to bring in data relationship, two major fields are going to help you with that. The first one is going to be your lookup field, and the second one is going to be your subform field, right? So in this webinar, that is for the month of May, we will be learning in detail about the lookup field in Zoho Creator and how you can use this field to bring in data relationship into your application. For the following month, that is for the Tech Connect webinar for the month of June, we will be covering how you can build data relationship using subform in Zoho Creator, right? So let's move on to understanding what is a lookup field. So in your Creator application, in the field palette, you do have 4 different field categories, such as basic fields, advanced fields, special, and AI fields, right? So lookup is one among an advanced field that we have within the Creator field palette. So using lookup field, you can create data relationship between the forms that you have with an application. So if you have 2 different forms within your application, using lookup, you can simply create a data relationship between these forms, right? Also, it is not mandatory that the relationship needs to be created only within an application. You can also bring in a relationship across applications as well. So for instance, within your Creator account, if you have 10 different applications, and if you want to fetch a data from application 1, and if you want to display the fetched data from into application 2, that can also be achieved using lookup field in Zoho Creator, right? So how does lookup field fetches data? So either between the applications or within an application, how lookup field fetches the data. So within an application, you will have multiple forms in order to store a data, right? So let's consider you have a form called customer information. So based on the fields that you have within your form, whenever the customer information form is submitted, a record will be created, right? So this record will contain the name of the customer, the email ID, phone number and address and so on, right? So whenever a record is generated, a unique ID or a unique set of digits called record ID will also be generated, right? So this record ID is unique for each record that is generated whenever a form submission happens. So whenever you want to fetch a data from form B and display it in form A, the lookup field will fetch the record ID of form B, right? So once a record ID is fetched, from the record ID you will be able to choose whether you want to display the name of the customer or the phone number or the address. You will be able to choose what is the value that you want to display in form A, right? So using the concept of record ID is how lookup field fetches the relevant data, right? So once you drag and drop a lookup field into your form, you will be into your form builder, you will be provided with this user interface, right? So this is the user interface that is going to help you to choose from what is the source location from which your data needs to be fetched and what is the final value that you want to display in the target form, right? So here using this user interface, you will be able to choose from which application do you want to fetch your data. Is it from the same application or any other application within your creator account? That can be selected over here, right? Followed by from which form do you want to fetch your data. So once your application is chosen, within an application, if you have multiple forms, from which form do you want to fetch your data, right? So once your form is also chosen, you will be able to choose what is the field from which you want to display your value in the target form. So that field can be selected over here, right? So once your application, form and field, once your sources are selected, you will be able to choose the display format as well. So we have two different display formats. The first one is for single selection and the second one is for multiple selection, right? So for single selection, you have display formats such as drop down and radio, and for multiple selection, you have display formats such as multi-select and checkbox. So based on the display format that you're choosing, the type of relationship that you're creating will also vary. For instance, if you're choosing either a drop down or radio, that is if you're choosing single selection, this will be created as a one-to-one relationship. Because with either a drop down or a radio, the user of the application will only be able to choose one single option, right? So this will create a one-to-one relationship, that is one record in form A will be associated with one record in form B, right? If you are opting for multiple selection, then this will create a one-to-many relationship, right? So based on your choice of display format, this will be created as a one-to-one or one-to-many relationship, right? So with this idea in mind, let's learn about the types of lookup that you can create. So previously we learnt about the types of data relationship, that is your one-to-one, one-to-many and your many-to-many relationship. Now within your creator application, using your lookup field, what are the different types of lookup that you can bring in? So we do have three different types. The first one is your unidirectional lookup, followed by the bidirectional lookup, and then comes your self lookup. So let's understand what these different types are with a relevant use case, and then we'll move on to a live demonstration on the same, right? So first we have the unidirectional lookup. So as the name suggests, data flow happens in a one-way manner, that is in a unidirectional way, right? So in this specific use case, you can see we have fetched the student name from student form and we have displayed the same in the enrollment form. So the data is transferred from the student form to the enrollment form. So this is an example of a unidirectional lookup. So whenever an enrollment happens, so whenever a student is enrolling for a course or a subject, whenever this form submission happens, this do not have an impact on the source form, that is nothing but your student form. So even when multiple enrollment happens, the data stored in the student form is going to be a constant value, right? So since data flow happens in a one-way manner, this is a classic example of a unidirectional lookup. So you can opt for unidirectional lookup when you just want to simply refer a data from one form and display it in another form, right? So here, based on the display format that you're choosing, it could be either a single selection or multi-selection, based on which you can create two different types of relationship using your unidirectional lookup. It can either be one-to-one or it can either be one-to-many relationship, right? So the core concept that you need to remember is data flow happens in a single way using your unidirectional lookup. Followed by which we have the bidirectional lookup. So as the name suggests, data flow happens in a two-way manner. That is, data exchange can be done from form A to form B and also from form B to form A. So this is the previous example that I showcased, where the student name is fetched and it is displayed over here. The course and schedule details are fetched and it is displayed over here, right? So data transfer is happening in a one-way manner in this specific example. So if you would like to convert this unidirectional relationship to a bidirectional relationship, then data flow will happen in a two-way manner. For instance, so if you have enabled this as a bidirectional relationship, so here the name of the student is fetched from the student form and it is displayed over here. Similarly, via this bidirectional relationship, you can also transfer the course details and the schedule details to the student form. So what is the benefit of doing so? In the student form, once you have transferred the course and schedule details to the student form, along with the student details, you will also be able to see the course details. So just by selecting a student, I will be able to see what are the different courses that the student has registered for, right? So via this bidirectional relationship, I can view all my required details in a single form, right? Similarly, this unidirectional relationship can also be converted into a bidirectional relationship, and data transfer can be done both ways as well. So for instance, if you are sending course and schedule details to the enrollment form, you can simply transfer the student name to the classes form. So once it is transferred from the classes form itself, I can view the course details along with the student details as well, right? So this is the benefit of creating a bidirectional relationship. So whenever I just select a course, I will be able to see the list of students who has registered for my course in a single form, right? So whenever this enrollment form submission happens, whenever a student is trying to enroll into a course, mutual updates will happen in the student form and in the classes form, right? So this is how data transfer is done in a two-way manner when you are using a bidirectional lookup. So the third type of lookup that we have is self lookup in Zoho Creator, where this is a very simple concept where data is fetched from one single form, that is from form A, and it will be displayed in the same form itself, right? So to understand it with a use case, so here you can see a organization tree, right? So within my university, I do have assistant professors working within my university to handle a course. These people will be reporting to the professors who are working within my university, and the professors will be reporting to the head of the department, and the HODs will be reporting to the chairman. So chairman is the highest position that I have within my university, so this person will not be reporting to anyone, right? So all these people, including the chairman, is an employee working within my university, right? So if I'm going to maintain the staff details as a report, I will be having a form to enter the name of my staff, the designation they belong to, and who the staff is reporting to, right? So first I have entered the chairman details. So Harry is a chairman who is not going to be reporting to anyone. The first record is created. Followed by which, let's add the HOD details. So Matthew is a HOD working in my university. So if I want to tag Matthew under Harry, then I'm going to fetch the chairman details from the same form, and it is going to be displayed in the same form itself, right? By this, I can simply add Matthew as an employee and tag it under Harry, who is the chairman of the organization or the university, right? So the data is fetched from form A and is displayed in the same form using the concept of self lookup in Zoho Creator, right? So these are the three different types of lookup that you can achieve using lookup field in Zoho Creator. Let me take you to a quick live demonstration on how this can be brought in within your Creator application. So here, this is my Creator account where you can see several applications that I have built earlier in my dashboard. So here, one among the application is Zilker Institution application. So this is the application that we are going to use for the demonstration purpose of this webinar, right? So this is the live mode of the application where you can see the name of the application followed by 4 different modules that are available within the application, right? So here, the first module that we have is the university database where I have the course details and the staff details. These are the details that I will be collecting, right? In the all database report, you can see under department, that is under the course details, we have department and course name, the 2 different departments that we are handling, the courses that we are offering to the students, the staff who are handling the course, the contact details of the staff and many other details, right? Also, among this, you can see something called ID, right? So, whenever this university database form submission happens, a report will be created over here. Every report that is created within your Creator application will generate something called a record ID. So this is the unique ID that will be fetched by the lookup field, and by this from this record ID you will be able to choose what is the value that you want to display in the target form, right? So this is the record ID that I was talking about earlier. So next module that we have is the registration form where I have 2 different sections called student details, course details, followed by I also have a third section called staff details and exam details, right? So this registration form will be used by students in order to enroll for a course or enroll for a subject, right? So all they have to do is just enter their details, select a course that they want to enroll for, and the staff details and exam details can be selected later on, right? So now, whenever a registration happens, that will be created as a record in the all registrations report, right? So next I have the leave request module where a single staff can apply or request for a leave. They have to enter the number of leaves required, the reason for leave, and that will, whenever the form submission happens, that will be created as a record as well, right? Then I have the centers module where in the all centers report, you can see the 2 different ways in which the student can attend an examination. They can either opt for online or they can either opt for offline, right? So based on the option, the student will be tagged with a specific center where they can attend their examination, right? This is the centers form that I have in order to enroll a new center into my university, right? So this is the application that we are going to use for the demonstration purpose of data relationship in Zoho Creator, right? So to explain this further, let me take you to the registration form. So let's consider a student is trying to enroll for a course. He or she will enter the student details, followed by they have to choose a course that they want to opt for. So here I have just used a single line field. The student might not know the course name that they want to register for. When you are giving with a list of choices or a list of courses that you are offering, from that list it is easier for the student to select or pick a course, right? So in order to do so, I'm just going to, let me move to the all database report. So here in this university database form, I have my course name already available over here, right? So using the lookup field, I can simply fetch my course name and display it in the registration form over here, right? So from the list of choices, a student can choose a course and register for the course based on their requirement, right? So let me show you how this can be done. For that, let's move on to the edit mode of the application. Let me take you to the registration form. So I have the student details section, the course details where I have the course name. So currently I've just used a single line field. Let me delete this. So in your advanced field category, you do have the lookup field available over here. Let me drag and drop this lookup field. So once you drag and drop a lookup field into your form builder, the user interface to select your source from which you want to fetch your data will be given to you. So you can select the data, fetch the data from the same application, which is Zilker Institution application, or from across applications within your Creator account, right? So once your application is chosen, you will be able to choose a form. So what is the form that we are going to choose? So I'm trying to fetch the course name that I that I have originally stored within the university database, right? So from here, I am going to fetch the course name. So this is the field that I am going to display. So lookup field will fetch the record ID of the university database. The record ID will contain values such as the course name, department, staff name, all the values will be available within the record ID. However, I would like to just display the course name. So here I will be choosing the display field, right? Followed by which you are provided with the display format option, which will define whether you want to create a one-to-one relationship or a one-to-many relationship, right? So as of now, let me choose the single selection drop-down option and click on done. So once your lookup field is created, towards your right hand side, you can see the field properties of the lookup field, right? So where the first field property that you have is field name. So field name is nothing but this will define how do you want to display the name of your lookup field in the live mode of your application. So let me name it as course name, and simultaneously your field link name will also get updated, right? So whenever you are calling this lookup field into any of your workflows, it could be your form workflows or report workflows or any other workflows, this is the field link name that you will be using, right? If you just scroll down, another field property that you have is display fields. So currently in the live mode, only the course name will be displayed in the lookup. So let me show you the same. So here in the live mode of the registration form, so you can see the different courses that we are offering. These are the data that I have fetched from the university database and it is displayed over here using lookup field, right? So along with the course name, if I want to display other values as well, such as if I want to display the department or if I want to display the contact or available leave or any other or the staff name or any other details, I can simply choose this plus icon and add my display field, right? So a maximum of 4 different display fields can be added for one single lookup field, right? So as of now, let me remove this and show you how a course name is appended with the department. So in the live mode, you can see along with the course name, the specific department such as information technology and computer science is added over here, right? So this is how you can configure the lookup display fields for the live mode of your application. Below which you have options to convert your drop down to radio button based on your requirement. You can make this lookup field a mandatory field. Once it is made mandatory, only when the student selects a course, they will be able to submit this registration form, right? So that will become a mandatory field. Also, you have a field property called choices. So what are these? So for the first option that you have is to allow new entries. So let me enable this on. So here, let me name it as add new course, right? So once you enable this option on, in the live mode of your application, along with the choices that you have listed, you will be provided with an option to add new course, right? So once you click onto it, the students will be redirected to this place where you can request for a specific course or even enroll a new course into the university database, right? So if you do not want to enable this option for the student, you can simply turn it off. Also, you can arrange the choices that you have given in an alphabetical order. You can set filter. So if you are displaying hundreds of choices, from the choice, you can simply give in a criteria. For instance, only when the department equals information technology, only when this criteria is met, the choices will be displayed. So all the records that has the department as information technology will be filtered and only those courses will be listed in the lookup field, right? So for that we have set filter and we have another choice configuration called advanced field search. So this is whenever you are fetching bulk data from a specific form and if you are displaying it using the lookup field in a target form, then in order to search through the choices given to you, you can enable this advanced field search. So let me show you how this reflects in the live mode. So here for the course name, you can see the advanced field search option is enabled. Once you click onto it, just by giving in a keyword or a criteria, you can search for a list of courses that are provided by the university. So as of now, I just have 5 different course names. If the data that I have fetched is a huge number of data, then I can search just by giving in a keyword, right? So that is the advanced field search field property. Right? Post which you can configure whether do you want to display this lookup field to everyone or just to the admin. So for my use case, I do want to display it to everyone. And then comes a field property called bidirectional relation. So far this lookup field is of a unidirectional relationship. So let me tell you why. So we are just fetching the data, the course name from the university database, and it is displayed over here, right? So data is transferred from the university database to the registration form, and this will become a unidirectional relationship. For instance, if you want to transfer data from the registration form and send it back to the university database, that's when you will be enabling a bidirectional relationship. That is, this unidirectional lookup will be converted into a bidirectional relation. So we'll be learning about the bidirectional relationship in detail in the following live demonstration. So let me scroll down to the other field properties. You can configure your field size. How do you want to display your field size can be configured, followed by a description for your lookup field can also be given. So two different types of description can be given. It can either be a tooltip or a help text, right? So let me quickly give a tooltip for instance. So let me just say, choose a course name for registration, right? So now if I access the live mode, whenever I hover upon this lookup field, since this is a tooltip, whenever I hover upon the lookup field, which is course name, the tooltip that I gave, which is choose a course name for registration, will be displayed, right? So these are the different field properties that we have for a lookup field within your Creator platform. So in this example, we fetch the course name from the university database and it is displayed in the registration form, right? Similarly, the staff details such as the name of the staff, the contact details, all this can also be fetched from the university database where it is originally stored, and these details can be fetched and it can be displayed in the registration form based on your requirement, right? So let me also show you another lookup that I have taken. I'm just moving on to the leave request form. So here I have taken a lookup of a staff name. So for a staff to to apply for a leave request, so here the staff will select his or her name based on which the number of leaves and the reason for leave can be filled in, and the staff can raise a leave request, right? So this staff name is originally stored in my university database where I have fetched the details from there and it is displayed over here, right? So all the three forms, the registration form has a relationship with the university database. Similarly, the leave request form has a relationship with the university database because of the lookup field that we have within the forms, right? So this is how unidirectional lookup can be created. So now let's understand how a bidirectional lookup can be created, for which let me take you to the registration form. So here this course name is a unidirectional relationship that we have built. So if I want to convert this into a bidirectional relationship, that is, if I want to transfer data from the registration form to the university database, then under the field properties, I do have the bidirectional relation option. Once you enable it, it will ask you what is the data that you want to transfer to the university database. So from the university database, we have taken up the course name, right? So data is transferred from here to here. So from the registration form, what is the data that you want to send back to the university database needs to be chosen. So let me send back the student name. The display type can be chosen once again and click on done, right? So here the bidirectional relationship is enabled. So from the university database, we are from the registration form, we are sending the student name to the university database, right? So once your bidirectional relationship is enabled, if you just move on to the university database, so here you can see a lookup field is already created, automatically created, right? So this is the value that I sent from the registration form to the university database. So this is automatically created, right? So what is the benefit of creating this bidirectional relationship? Within a single form, I can see my course details and my student details, right? So let me show you how this can be done. So I'm just going to move on to the all database report. click on configure fields for web, where I have all these details that will be reflected in the live mode of the report, right? Along with this, I also want to display my student name, right? So I have added the field. Now let's move on to the live mode. In the all database report, you can see the student name field added over here. So we do not have any data as of now because no registration has happened so far. So let's go ahead and register for a student. The student details are entered. The student can simply choose a course, for instance, web technology. The staff name and contact details for this specific course can be auto-populated using your Deluge scripting language. So we'll come back to that use case in the later part of the demo, right? So once the course name and the staff details, everything is filled in, the student can choose whether they want to attend the exam online or offline, and the respective centers can be chosen, right? So once enrollment is created, that is once the registration form is submitted, since we have enabled a bidirectional relationship between university database and registration form, data transfer will happen in a two-way manner. From the university database, the course name is fetched. Similarly, the student details, that is the student name, will also be sent back to the university database. So here you can see the student name available, right? So in a single report, I can see for this specific course, who are all the list of students who has registered for the course, right? So as the registration happens, the student name will get updated over here, right? So this is the benefit of a bidirectional relationship. Also, we do have a third kind of lookup, which is self-lookup in Zoho Creator. To talk about that, let me take you to the university database form, where in the second section called staff details, so if I want to enroll a new employee as a professor or a HOD into my organization, I will enter the staff name, the contact details, the leaves that I am granting for the staff, and I'll submit the form, right? So if I want to assign who the staff is reporting to, so this staff could be reporting to the HOD or the chairman, right? So if I want to assign a reporting to person, that reporting to person is also an employee working within my organization. I already have my staff details over here. So I'll be fetching the data from the same form, which is university database form, and it will be displayed into the same form using your lookup field. This will create a self lookup. Okay? So let me show you how that can be done. So let me open the university database form. Let me drag and drop a lookup field. So from this application, from the same form called university database, I am going to get the staff name, right? Click on done. Let me rename this field name to be reporting to. So now if you just access the same in the live mode, so if I am entering a new staff, so this person will be reporting to John Davis or Emily. All these are the staff name that I have fetched from the same form, which is university database, right? So this is an example of a self lookup. So using your lookup field, you can create unidirectional, bidirectional, and also self lookup, and the field properties help you to configure your required display fields, right? So once all the type of relationship that you want to bring in within your application is configured, using this or based on this relationship, you can create combined reports within your Creator application. So let me show you. Let's move on to the all database report, where this is the quick view of the report. Any report will have two different views. This is a quick view. When you select a record, this is the detailed view of the report. So a combined report can be created only in the detailed view of a report, right? So let me show you how you can create that. So in the edit mode of your application, choose your report where you want to create your combined report. Move on to the detailed view. And using the second option or using the second template, you can create your combined reports, right? So here you have two different options, which is add block and add related block. Add related block is the option that is going to help you to create your combined reports based on the relationship that you have within your application, right? So then what is add block? Add block is used to bring in sections into your report. So here you have a section called university details. We'll just keep values such as department and course name. Let me remove staff name and contact. Let's quickly bring in another section. Let me bring in another section. Let me rename this section to be staff details, where I'm just going to keep information that are related to a staff. Let me delete the student name, the department, course name. I'm going to keep staff name, reporting to, the contact details of the staff, and the available leave, right? So these, this add block option will help you to bring in sections into your report. So if you just view the live mode of the report now, you can see the two different sections that you have created and the relevant data into the section, right? So now, using add related block, you can create combined reports. That is, based on the relationship that university database has with other modules, you can fetch the relevant details from these modules and you can display it in the university database. So let's add a related block. Let me choose, so this university database has a relationship with the registration form and also with the leave request form, right? So let me choose the registration form and create a block. So the block is created. Let me name it as student details, where I'm going to display the student name, phone number. Let me remove the other details. Let's keep exam type and centers, right? So since university database has a relationship with the registration form, we have added this related block. So in the live mode, for instance, if I'm choosing this record, you can see the department details, the staff details, along with the number of students or the list of students who has registered for this specific course. So in a single report, you can view all these details, which is a combined report in Zoho Creator, right? So let me take you back to the presentation now. So once your data relationship is built, based on this data relationship, you can bring in automation into your application using the Deluge scripting language. Automation as in, based on the relationship that you have built within your application, you can fetch the records using your Deluge script. Based on the fetched records, you can auto-populate data within your application. So this is one automation. Also, whenever a choice is selected, you can dynamically display what are the relevant choices based on the option selected from a user input, right? So for this, we will be using a concept called dynamic pick list in Zoho Creator. So we'll be showcasing the same in the live demonstration. Also, you can bring in other automations such as whenever a form submission happens, based on the form submission, if you want to transfer data to other forms or update data into other forms, all this can be achieved using your Deluge scripting language, right? So let me show you a live demo on the same. So for which, let me take you to the registration form. So here, for a student to enroll into a course, the student will be selecting a course name, right? So once a course name is selected, I want the relevant staff details to be auto-populated. The staff who's handling the course and the contact details of the staff, right? So this automation is based on a form called registration form. So I can easily achieve it using form workflows in Zoho Creator. So to create a workflow, let's move on to the workflow tab. Under form workflows, click on new workflow. So my automation is going to be based on registration form. Let me choose the relevant record event, and the form event is going to be user input of a field. So whenever this field, which is course name, is selected, or whenever a user input is given over here, that's when I want to auto populate the staff details, right? So once a course name is selected, let me choose the field to be user input of course name. Let me name my workflow as auto populate staff details and click on create workflow. So now let's proceed with creating a custom action. So first, initially I am going to fetch my staff details, right? So staff details are originally stored in the university database. So using the fetch records syntax, I will be able to fetch the relevant details, right? So let me name a collection variable which is fetch staff details. So staff details are originally stored in my university database. So that is the form that I am going to choose in order to fetch the staff details, right? Then comes a condition or a criteria or comparison that you need to give in order to fetch your data. So the comparison that I am going to give is, what is the relationship that university database has with the registration form? So the relationship that we have between these two forms is this lookup field, right? So the record ID of the university database will be equal to the record ID of this lookup field, which is course name, because we have simply fetched the record ID and we have displayed the course name over here. So this is the comparison or relationship that I am going to give over here. That is, the record ID of the university database is double equal to the lookup field, that is the course name that I have in the registration form, right? So in order to access the fields that I have within the registration form, I am just going to type in input dot. So let me zoom in a bit. So once you type in input dot, you will be able to see the different fields within the registration form, from which I am going to select the course name, which is the lookup field or the relationship that I have with the university database, right? So based on this comparison, since both the record IDs are one and the same, the relevant data, all the data within university database will be fetched, including the staff details, and it will be stored within the collection variable, right? So now what is the value that I want to populate? It is staff name. Also, I want to populate the contact details of the staff, right? Let me choose contact details, right? So the value is available within this collection variable called fetch staff details. I am just going to map the respective value. Let me get the staff name. Similarly, let me get the staff contact, right? Let me save this. So now we'll just test the workflow in the live mode of the application. So whenever a course name is selected, you can see the staff name is getting auto-populated. So even if the course name is changed, the respective staff name will get auto-populated, right? Also, I do not want my students to make changes in the staff details. So let me disable these two fields. So using the disable function, I can disable the staff name along with the contact details, right? So let me update the script. So now in the live mode, whenever a course name is chosen, the respective staff details is populated and also it is displayed. So this automation is achieved because of the relationship that we have created between the university database and the registration form, right? So because of this relationship, we were able to fetch the relevant data and the data is auto-populated, right? So this is one simple automation that you can bring in. Based on the same concept, I have also auto-populated another value in the leave request form, right? So here, whenever a staff name is chosen, you can see the leave balance of the staff is getting automatically populated over here, right? So this is achieved because of the relationship that I have with the university database, right? So I have used a similar script. Let me show you the same. So in the leave request, so here I have used a similar script where using the fetch records based on a comparison. So this is the relationship that I have, right? So based on this relationship, the data is fetched and stored within this collection variable and the leave balance value is auto-populated, right? So this is one simple automation that we have brought in. So there are other automations as well. For instance, let me take you to the registration form. So here, in the university database, we have the available leave for each staff, right? So if a staff wants to raise for a leave request, using the leave request form, they can raise a leave. So once a leave request is raised, that is, once this leave request form is submitted, I want to update the leave balance of the staff. For instance, if John Davis is applying for a leave for 1 day of leave, then I want to update the leave balance to be 7. So this automation can also be achieved because we do have a relationship with the university database, right? So let me show you how this can be done. So let's create a new workflow. So the automation is going to be based on the leave request form. relevant record event. Let the form event be on successful form submission. So whenever the leave request form is submitted, I want to update the leave balance, right? So let's create a custom action using the Deluge scripting language. So using the fetch record syntax, let me create a collection variable to fetch the leave details of the staff. So this is just a variable name, collection variable name. So the leave details are originally stored in the university database. So from here, I'm going to fetch my data, right? So what is the comparison or relationship that I have within university database and the leave request form? It is the staff name lookup field, right? So I'm just going to say the record ID of the university database is double equal to the course, that is the staff name lookup field that I have in the leave request form, right? So let me just say record ID is double equal to input dot the lookup field, which is staff name, right? So now the value that I want to update is the available leave that I have in the all database report. So this is the value that I want to update, right? So from this collection variable, let me get the available leave. So this is the field that I want to update. So how you can update? You can simply subtract So you can simply subtract the number of leaves required with the leave balance, right? So the resultant subtraction value will be your value that needs to be updated in the university database. So I'm just going to get the available leave and I'm going to subtract it with the number of leave field that I have in the leave request form. So using the input dot function, I can get the number of leaves required. So this subtraction, the result of this subtraction will be updated as a new value in the available leave field, right? So let me save this. And now let me refresh. So let's raise a leave request for John. He has 8 days of leave. So the reason for leave is going to be sick leave and for tomorrow, and he's requesting for 1 day of leave, right? So once the form submission happens, the subtraction will happen between the number of leave required and the leave balance, and the result, which is 7 days of leave, will be updated for Dr. John Davis, right? So this is achieved because of the relationship that we created, right? So there is also another use case that you can achieve via this relationship, that is in the registration form. So here you can see we have two different types of exams, which is an online exam and an offline exam. So whenever a student selects an exam type, you can see all the exam centers are displayed. Both offline and online centers are displayed, right? So I'm going to bring in an automation where if a student is selecting an offline exam, only offline centers should be displayed over here, right? So let me show you how this can be done. So let's create a new form workflow based on the registration form. And the form event is going to be user input of exam type, whether it is an offline or online exam. So let me just say dynamically pick the exam centers. So we will be using a concept called dynamic pick list in order to achieve this use case. So before that, let's fetch the exam center details initially, right? So using fetch record, So let's create a collection variable called fetch center details. So the center details are originally stored in the centers form, right? So from this form, I'm going to fetch my data. So what is the common value that I have with centers and registration form? So if you just see the center type, it could be either online or offline. So this value is equal to the exam type that I have over here, which is either online or offline. So this is the comparison that I'm going to use in order to fetch my center details, right? So the center type is double equal to the exam type that I have in the registration form, right? So based on this comparison, all the records from the centers will be fetched and it will be stored in the collection variable. So now I want to dynamically choose what is the list of choices that I want to display in the live mode of my application in the exam centers field. So let me call this field, which is input dot exam centers, right? Using the dynamic pick list syntax, I will be able to achieve this use case. So the syntax is, I'm going to customize the UI, that is the list of choices that I want to display, and what is the value that I'm going to add. From this collection variable, I'm going to add the center name, the offline centers or online centers, right? Since one single exam type has multiple center names, I'm going to use the getAll function to get all the center names and display according to the center type that is chosen, right? So let me save this and let me refresh the registration form. So now whenever an exam type is chosen, for instance online, only the online way of attending the exam will be given to you. If the student is choosing offline, only the offline centers will be given to you, right? So this is a concept of dynamic pick list that is achieved using your Deluge scripting language because of the relationship that you have built within your application, right? So if you have a creator application with you, you can go ahead and bring in your data relationship and think of the different automations that you can bring in using your Deluge script, right? So once all your relationship is brought in, using a developer tool called Schema Builder, you can view all the relationship that you have brought in. It could be a unidirectional or bidirectional relationship or even a self lookup. All the different types of forms and the relationship between the forms can be viewed using Schema Builder developer tool, right? So here, this is how the tool looks like, where you can see the different forms that you have, the different relationship that you have built. So all this can be viewed in a single space, right? Let me take you to a live demo on the same. So you can find the developer tool called Schema Builder in the settings tab, that is in the edit mode of your application. Under developer tools, you have Schema Builder, right? So all the forms that I have within my application is displayed as a diagram over here. And also when you hover upon a form or a circle or a diagram, you can simply see what is the relationship that you have created with the next form, right? So university database has a bidirectional. So this 2 represents a bidirectional relationship with the registration form, right? Leave request has a unidirectional relationship. This solid green line represents it has a unidirectional relationship with the university database, right? Also this schema represents, this is a self lookup that we have taken with the within the university database, right? So if you have a huge number of forms within your application and if you have built n number of data relationship, you can simply view your data relationship in a single space using this developer tool called Schema Builder, right? So since this centers do not have any relationship with other forms, this is appearing as a standalone schema, right? So I hope you understood the different types of relationship and the different types of lookup that you can bring in within your creator platform. With this, we have come to the end of this webinar. Let me summarize the topics that we just discussed. So initially, we started off with an introduction to what is data relationship and the different types of data relationship that we have, where we discussed about one-to-one, one-to-many and your many-to-many relationship, right? Then we learned about how you can bring in all these different types of relationship within your creator platform by either creating a unidirectional or bidirectional or self lookup, and how lookup field is going to help you with the same, right? Then we also learned about, based on the relationship that you have built, how you can create combined reports in Zoho Creator. And then using your Deluge scripting language, how you can bring in automation based on the relationship that you have within your application, right? And to view all this relationship, we also learned about a developer tool called Schema Builder in Zoho Creator, right? So with this, we have come to an end of this webinar. If you have any questions regarding any of the topics that we have covered, kindly post them in the question tab, and I hope the questions are being answered simultaneously as well, right? So in the meantime, you post your questions. Let me give you a short promotion about the upcoming free webinars that we have scheduled. So here you can see the Zoho Creator Learning Table series, which is a month-on-month free webinar that will be scheduled on every first Thursday of the month. So in this webinar, we will be for every different 12 months, we will be selecting a specific industry and we will be showcasing how Zoho Creator platform helps you to build application for that specific industry, right? So for the upcoming month, that is for the month of June, we have taken up the industry to be creator for visitor management. So we will be showcasing a live demo on the application that is going to help you with visitor management industry, right? So this session is scheduled on June 5th and the timing is from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. as per Indian Standard Time. If you are interested in attending this session, we kindly request you to scan the QR code. The registration link for this learning table series will be shared in the chat section by my co-trainer. If any of your friends or colleagues are interested in it, you can share it with them as well, right? Then comes the upcoming Tech Connect free webinar for the month of June, which is scheduled for June 12th from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. Indian Standard Time. So we will be moving on to the next series, which is building data relationship using subform. In this webinar, we learnt about the lookup. In the upcoming webinar, we'll be learning about subform, right? So if you're interested, you can scan the QR code or you can register via the registration link that is shared with you in the chat section. So we thank you all for attending this webinar and for your active participation with the confirmations and everything. So if you have any further queries regarding the upcoming webinars or Zoho Creator trainings, you can always write to training@zohocreator.com. Thank you all. We will be winding up this webinar as of now. Thank you.